that is on the back seat now. That is not required because, everything has to be fundamental. Everything has to be questioned. Okay. So, these are certain points with regard to postmodernism. 4 points basically. Fragmentation is one. Provisionality is second. Instability is third. And micro approach is fourth. So, we have discussed all these points. Okay. Further, postmodernism is like rhizomes, if you know. Yeah, there are rhizomes. Rhizomes are rooted plants. And there is no one root of rhizome. For example, ginger. Okay, so postmodernism is like a ginger root. And it isn't a tree with one root and many branches. There is no root to knowledge. Rather there are rhizomes. Okay. Rather there are rhizomes to knowledge. Okay, that is, for example, ginger. So ginger does not have one root. There are many roots attaching. So what is postmodernism? Postmodernism is again like a rhizome. There is no one root to the tree of knowledge. આપણે ઘણી વાત કરીએ ને કે તમે ધારો કે study of language, if you went through study of language in your TY, we had this language tree. The root was the same, then there were branches. In postmodernism, there is no one root. It is like a ginger. There are many roots and you need to connect all the roots in order to get something. So this is the most clear and simple way of explaining postmodernism. There is no central point to anything. Everything is true and nothing is true at the same time. You accept everything and at the same time you need to reject it. More is in fact postmodern. Okay. So every time what next is this. So you cannot explain that this is this. Okay. There is no one word to any other word. It is this and this and this and this and goes on, so it becomes rhetoric and not like a root. Okay, so postmodernist doctrines give a great deal of philosophical, political and sociological thought which disseminated itself into the artistic avant-garde. Okay, in visual arts and in humanities departments of universities in Europe and United States theory. So this is how postmodern doctrines are taken into account. The postmodern period is one of the extraordinary dominance of the work of academics or artists. Important. Academics important છે, artist નહીં. એટલે શું કોના વિષય કહેવાય છે important છે, શું કહેવાય રહ્યું છે નહીં. Okay. As one of the lectures, Sachin Keskar sir, day before yesterday said that we learn about novels, we don't learn how to write a novel, we don't learn how to write a poetry, we learn how to criticize a poetry like that. So that is the problem in postmodernism. So postmodernism now relates to a variety of disciplines. It is in arts and in architecture, in music, in films, in literature, in sociology, in computer science and technology, and in fashion. So these are the parts in which postmodernism gets fragmented. Now in the next slide we will be looking at examples of each. Okay, so this postmodern art. This is a Fool's House in 1962 by Gasso Jones. Now this is a brush, a paint brush. Now can a paint brush be this huge? And has the paint brush done what it needs to do? That's the question. This is art in postmodern architecture. Now you see, this is my own experience, so I am not putting my photographs to market myself, but every photograph had me in the museum. So the first image here is Museum of Pompidou. The Museum of Pompidou is the postmodern museum in Paris. It is the most famous postmodern museum. Now you see the architecture of the Museum of Pompidou in the first image. It is very unlike the classical approach of French architecture because they wanted to break away from the postmodern architecture. So it is more like a garage. Okay. Now in the second image, there are many versions of the same face. Which is the original? That is the question, and the answer to it is you don't know. Third image, the cycle is melting. The concept of melting cycle is very postmodern. The cycle cannot melt. These are the photographs from the Museum of Pompidou. which is a very famous museum in the city of Paris. Okay, so this is all about postmodern architecture, breaking away from the traditional way of looking at things. Okay, now in that museum, there was this one tile on which what is postmodernism was written. You might not get it very clearly because I photographed it, but I'll read it for you. In the 1980s, many artists abandoned the illusions entertained by avant-garde for earlier decades. Novelty and originality were no longer boasted of. Novelty and originality no importance not. In quotation and remake, art from the art abounded. Belief in a difference in kind between work of art and everyday object disappeared, as we discussed earlier. Okay, art was seen as inevitably bound up with business, a product of culture industry, like the media and communication more generally. A form of aesthetic relativism emerged. This disillusion, definitive of postmodernism in the field of art, was felt as a painful loss, but also as a liberation. So there was also loss, but people also felt that they got liberated. But liberty sometimes also becomes boundedness at a very later point in time. Today, the postmodern decade seems less unequivocal rather, and more richly subtle than it did then. The end of a story, not the end of history and the beginning of another. So this is how postmodernism looked. So this is an image from the Museum of Pompidou, which I came across and I photographed. Okay, so coming back to first was in art, then there was in architecture. Now, example of postmodernism in music. Okay, so there was this one short film, Ballerina on the Boat, in the year 1969. Ballerina is a lady dancing ballet that had Kincaid's and Sostakovich's music. Now that music that was done in that particular movie was postmodern, but you might have not come across it. Is a short movie. Okay, I have also given the links at the end of the. You can just click the image of this. But I'll give you a more Indianized example to which you can relate to. You must have listened to Amit Trivedi. Okay, Amit Trivedi is one of the famous musicians who gave music in Dev D. Hello?
Yes? Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but screen is not clearly visible as we can't read the presentation slides properly.
This one is not clear?
From slide number 35 perhaps, when we started the second call, the screen is not clear.
So do I need to go back to the 35th slide again?
No, sir. But can you turn your phone in a horizontal position?
It is in horizontal position. It is horizontal.
Okay. Rohit, can you?
Sorry.
I think zooming will work because of low connectivity, this font will be not visible clearly. So zooming is fine.
Slide number 38. Are you getting the slide number 38? Is it clear enough?
Yes, sir. But zooming will help. As the connection problem is that internet connection problem is that. That's why we.
Okay. So I am going back to slide number 38 now. Postmodernism and architecture. This is full zoom. If you see this first image is the Museum of Pompidou, as I told you. You can search it on the internet. And its design is very postmodern, as if it is a modern garage, as against the French way of looking at or architecturizing classical things. This is an image wherein you don't know which is the real image. This is the image where cycle is melting, which is very postmodern in its art. Okay. Now this is what I read and I went through this. So what I photographed, and this would not be very clear because it was photographed from a very old phone. Okay, this is what we were into. Ballerina on the Boat is a short movie. It is easily available and it has postmodern music on the YouTube. You can go through it. I will give you an Indian example of it. Amit Trivedi, who gave music in Delhi, that was his first movie. He got national award, and he used many musical instruments which were a combination of West and East. And therefore, the boundary of Western music use in the Western way of looking at things and the Eastern music use of the Eastern way of looking at things was blurred. The best example is the song in Aisha. In Aisha, there is one song, you can listen to it. It is Gal Mithi Mithi Bol, which is a song wherein there is a marriage happening. What happens in that is, there is this use of South Indian Shehnai, should I call? South Indian Shehnai in Punjabi folk music track. That is postmodern. Or if you go through gangs of Vasakur's music, Neha Khanwalkar. Neha Khanwalkar recorded many noises from the road wherein she went for a road trip, and then she converted those noises into music. That is postmodern music for you. Okay? Now this is postmodern films. Okay? So, Aakho Dekhi is a very postmodern thing. What you see is what you believe. There is no smoking. Anurag Kashyap's movie, many of you might not have seen. You should see both the movies. Matrix again, and then Inception. So these are postmodern cinema. Okay. Then we have postmodern literature. In postmodern literature, A Clockwork Orange is a postmodern literature. A Wind Up Bird Chronicle, postmodern literature. Kafka on the Shore is postmodern literature. Midnight Children is postmodern literature. Okay. Societal postmodernism now. See, this is an image which I got from the internet. Postmodernism is all about fragmented society. So in the past, life was very different to that what we experience today. Okay. Everyone had their own roles, responsibilities and places within society. Women had a place in the home, they were the carers of the family. Men had a place as the head of the family, they went to work and has a right to education, unlike women. There was a fixed structure of life which is now broken. Today, you see, today, we can make our own choices and decide what path we wish to take despite our gender, both men and women. Work and have a right to education, and we are affected by the media. So this is the postmodern way of looking at things. This is another image that I got from the internet, postmodern family and diversity. Okay. David Shear says that family structures are fragmented and individuals have much more choice in their lifestyle, personal relationships and family arrangement. Choice. Okay, earlier you did not have choices. There are more choices available. Family life is more diverse than you were before. And its shape depends on the active choices people make about how to live their life. You are free to choose how you want to lead your life. For example, whether to get out divorced, cohabit, come out as gay or lesbian, it is a very postmodern thought. Earlier, people could not express what they really felt. So, friends are supposed to be the new family. Okay? Now, postmodernism in computer science, hyperreality. For example, there is this Disneyland in Paris. Now, if you go to Disneyland, it is a whole make-believe world that is created and which is unreal. But it is there, therefore it is real. So when you go there, the outside world becomes unreal, and when you come out, that world becomes unreal. So truth is a special effect. You need to visit Disneyland in order to understand how am I calling it a world within a world. Okay. Then representation is what reality is. So what you represent is what is real. The face of knowledge, as I told you, is digital. If it is not digital, it is not knowledge, as we discussed. Okay. Now, social hierarchies in postmodernism. Okay. Now, see, fashion in postmodernism, because the last point was it is also in fashion. Now, what are the key points? The human nature, freedom, individuality, contradiction, complexion, diversification. Okay, so this is a very postmodern image of how fashion has to be seen. Okay, so earlier fashion meant that if you are from a particular community, you need to dress up like this. If you are from a particular class, you need to dress up like that. But it is not the case right now. Anybody can dress up as anyone wants to. So social hierarchies have deleted. Okay. Now, coming to certain points with regard to postmodernism, I hope I made myself clear with regard to where postmodernism is used. Okay. Postmodernists are good critical deconstructors and terrible constructors. So we now know how we construct things is a huge question because we are not aware about it. But deconstruction becomes very important. Okay, how we deconstruct is very important. How we look at how we change issues becomes very important. Okay, then there is cultural analysis, from which we came across the theory of cultural studies. Postmodern is a cultural studies theory. Is very distinctive contribution of postmodernism to contemporary society, and compression of time and space through new media. You can compress time, you can compress space through digitalization, through hyper reality, through new media. Okay. Now there are certain questions also. How far is the hermeneutics of suspicion justified? This is a very important question. How do you justify the hermeneutics? How do you deal with the hermeneutics of everything? That is the question. That is, how do you interpret the basics of everything that you suspicionize? If it is to be believed that everything is constituted by a deceiving image and not by reality, how does one know? Do you know a question? You know it is a deceiving image, but you yourself also know that as this is a deceiving image, there has to be reality. So you know reality. Perhaps the 100th person from you does not know reality, but you know reality. As we are living in a micro-narrative arena. So there are certain people who are aware of the reality and are going away from it, and there are others who don't know what reality is and accept what is reality. Okay? Then there is this existential irony in postmodernism. It is all about multicultural pluralism. Multicultural vastu છે, plural vastu છે. Postmodernism is like a party manifesto. It is at the base of set of beliefs which are not in fact held by all and are unlikely to reflect the universal condition of men and women in contemporary society. Okay, if you go through a party, there is this manifesto of party. That does not necessarily mean that everybody that are coming to that place would be subscribing to what you think. I'll give you an example of this. Theme of dressing in marriages nowadays. Theme of dressing, right? On one day you'll have to wear traditional, everybody has to wear a gown, and everybody then becomes a clown sometimes, wearing even if anything that does not suit them. So what is that? That is what you are not subscribing to, but you have to subscribe to because somebody else is subscribing to it. So for you, that becomes a reality. And if you don't do that, you are not allowed in. Anybody who is not dressed up like this will not be allowed. So that is a very strange thing. This is the last thing that we look into. Hans Bertrand in the idea of postmodern. This is what postmodernism is all about. In the 1994 says, although the omnipresence of the postmodern and its advocates would seem to suggest otherwise, not everybody subscribes to the view that language constitutes rather than represents. Language represents is what postmodernism says. It does not constitute anything. Reality is special. That the autonomous and stable subject of modernity has been replaced by a postmodern agent whose identity is largely other-determined and always in process. So postmodernism is not a product, it is never-ending process. That meaning has become social and provisional, or that knowledge only counts as such within a given discursive formation. That is the given power structure. You have to either follow the power structure or you get deleted from it. Okay. Now see, what happens in postmodernism is everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not truth. This basically is postmodernism. It involves uncertainty, lack of absolutes, and progress is unlikely in terms if you connect to what is said. If you are free, then and then progress is likely. These are the names of some influential postmodernists: Heidegger, Derrida, Foucault, Lyotard, Jameson, Kellner. We also have Baudrillard that we discussed. Now, this is also what I got from the internet, this image. We'll go through it. What is the postmodernist model of audience effect? See, people use it to actively construct their identity is one. The media is an integral part of the postmodern society. Therefore, people use it to construct the identity. Now, that is related to, there is a sense of playfulness and unpredictability about how people do this. On the other hand, there is no such thing as one dominant or preferred meaning to media. There is nothing as one. Rather, there are multiple interpretations. There is no one underlying reality. There are many realities. Then, the media is a constitutive part of people's realities. That is, it is thus meaningless to say that media has an effect on the audience. Okay? Because everybody's reality is different, but that different reality is again guided by media. So that is a sub question in the question. Individuals read media content in a variety of ways. That is one thing. How they interpret media content depends on a variety of factors, and these readings change over time. So everything changes in postmodernism. Okay, postmodernism is against the grandeur of anything that you always believe in. It is all about microcosmic and minuscule narrative, and this is the best thing. This is an image from the movie Fight Club. In Fight Club, there is this one dialogue. The first rule of Fight Club is there is no Fight Club. So the first rule of postmodernism here is you do not define what is postmodernism. You only construct a way getting into postmodernism. So that is how you deal with postmodernism. This is my take on what postmodernism is. Okay. So yes, I hope I have made myself clear enough. Everybody can come in now and ask questions.
Start video and screen sharing off.
Screen sharing off. Just a moment.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Start video, please.
Yes, okay, fine. Now? Yeah, okay. So, this was what postmodernism was all about.
We can't see you, sir.
Still can't?
Can't see you.
The video is on. One action only. Can you see
Rohit,
me now?
see, sir. Hello, Rohit.
Yes.
Can you see, sir, on screen?
No.
But please check second time.
I can.
Hello. Can you see me now? That is, so I can't do anything about it because the video is already on.
Okay.
So you can ask questions if there are any. Hello.
If anyone has questions, participant. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, Maulik.
Yes, sir. It's Maulik.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the session, sir. Postmodernism is so difficult, and so you have simplified for us. So thank you.
Yes, yes. I tried my best. Tried my best. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Sir, so I have a question that what is avant-garde?
Avant-garde is a new wave. It is, you have this new wave of looking at things. So how you perceive is what's important. Okay, there are many ideas and methods. For example, in art, in music, in literature, or in whatever you do. So that new way of looking at things is avant-garde. Okay. Now it is basically this is a French word actually. Okay, it was used in military. Okay, so when there was something or there was this group of highly skilled people, they were considered to be foreguarders or vanguards. Okay, so there is this avant-garde. Avant-garde is advanced guard. Okay, that means something advanced, something that is a new way of looking at things. A French word. It is your way of looking at how you deal with things. It is a very postmodern way of looking at things.
Oh, yes, mostly, sir, in art forms, avant-garde theory, and there are
Yes,
mostly the
yes,
art
yes,
forms. Yeah. The postmodernist
yes, yeah,
arts called avant-garde theater or avant-garde literature.
exactly. I'll give you
Mhm.
an example. There was this one play by Hans Schlegel. Hans Schlegel's play, I'm not sure the name, I forget the name, but there was this one play. That play starts, the audience is sitting in the auditorium, right? Now the curtain rises, and on the stage, people are sitting on the chairs as well, showing their back to the audience. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now then, after some time, another curtain rises, and there are people sitting, showing their back to the first curtain raised people. And then back again, and then back. So there are 5 curtains raised, and the actual audience also looks back now. That okay, are we also part of this play or are we audience? So there is no one point of understanding. And I also told you this Museum of Pompidou, Mohit. You need to search that in on the internet. That is avant-garde museum. That means everything you see there is very post, is very new. It is very microcosmic real. Okay, so you don't have this old version of meta narrating everything. Everything has its own origin and everything has its own end. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have. Hello.
Yes, yes. Go on.
So, sir, so as you said that we are living in postmodern era, but
Yeah.
sir, do we live in postmodern era? I think we are living in postmodern era.
Okay, so yes, so fine. This the concept of postmodern is playing with words basically. Okay, you cannot have dual post. Okay, there is only one post in what you do. Okay, you cannot. For example, when you say very good, you don't have to say very good. Very good itself is very good. That in that sense, postmodern is postmodern. You cannot have postmodern in terms of our living. That is only, trying to play with words and to me complexifying things. Uh, we would always live in this postmodern era. Perhaps we are shifting towards post-truth now. So there is nothing, according to me, as postmodern era, because there can be nothing post. Okay, there can only be post. So yeah, that is how it is.
Okay, So, sir, I am trying to say that this era, the whole world is now the globalization is
Yes.
still globalization impacts is there, but still now the politics is going on towards the right wing, and now literature and everything is uh, going towards the traditional way or the ancient era, and we are
Yes.
proud for our culture. And how you see this? So is it postmodern era?
See,
I don't know.
now I'll make you what I believe understand. First thing is that what you write in literature. So any movement does not start with literature. Okay, so we are going back to our roots. That is what we say. But are we really going back? That is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Well, has art gone back to traditional way of looking at things? If yes, then literature will. Okay, because if you read modern works, they're template-based works. That means there is no thought in what is written. It is just written because it is catered by a specific set of audience who start believing that this is what literature is. Okay, so in this world, or whenever we live now, even after 20 years, you would be in postmodern times. Simply because there is no set way of looking at things. For example, you believe in a particular way of looking at going back to your roots. I might not believe that. There is no doctrine of going back to what you were. Okay, in this world of hyper reality or new media, you cannot force people to go back. You can only suggest them to go back. And everybody would have their own standpoint with regard to the concept of going back. So where do you go back? That becomes the question there, Mohit. So, your question was with regard to the cloud narrative concept, but the postmodern does not answer cloud narrative. Postmodern answers what local things are to be taken into account. Your local solutions are more important. Okay, that is how it is.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll think on it. Okay, thank you.
Please do, and do let me know if there are inputs as well. Okay. Anybody else?
Sir,
Yeah.
I have one question. If
Yes.
I think I don't know I am clear in question or not, but I am
Yes.
reading this. Can you see any changing role in when we see teachers, the traditional teacher and postmodern teachers? Because you said that everything is changing.
Yeah. And I also gave an example with regard to this. I also told you that the role of teacher perhaps might not change because the teacher has to teach. The way might change, and the way how a teacher is approached changes, a way how teacher is dealt with changes, a way how teacher is looked upon changes. So a teacher is now more of your friend and not your elder or your father figure, or because in father figure there is a problem, you cannot ask certain questions. Now a modern teacher, a postmodern teacher is much more equipped teacher with a lot of information around him, and therefore you can almost ask everything that you want to ask to a teacher, and a teacher also can answer without any inhibition. So the concept of role is very postmodern. Okay, so right now I may be your teacher, but after half an hour, 1 hour, I might not be your teacher. So I am not your teacher 24/7. You can also ask me a question after 1 hour, which is non-academic, as a friend or as an elder or as a brother or as whatever you like me to be. So how you look at me changes. Furthermore, in postmodern times, you don't need to define everything that you feel. Okay. In the postmodern setup, for example, you don't need to give me a definition of what you think about me, or I don't need to give you a definition of what I think about you. Many things go without saying, and respect itself becomes enough. So when you visit my place, or if I visit your place, you don't have to designate me in one way or the other. I might visit your place without any designation, social designation, and yet do the same what I do when I teach you. And you can also learn without any designation as much as you want to. So it has changed a lot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. I just found that in postmodernist literature, we just find some problems. For example, in Waiting for Godot by Bucket, but no any solutions we can find. So, can we say that this postmodernist literature is a problematizations of problem?
I gave that answer, I think, but I will revert to the same thing. In postmodern, what is very important is that you don't have to follow what is said. Okay, micro-narratizing things becomes important. Remember this. You as a consumer are supposed to see Waiting for Godot as you want to see. For example, I might not find any problem in Waiting for Godot, even if it is written that there is a problem. If I don't find any problem, that is my view with regard to how the text is written. So there is some problem, but what kind of a problem is related to how you look at that particular text. You don't have to necessarily follow what is written by the critics with regard to Waiting for Godot. Because what happens there is you are generalizing, and generalizing is not what postmodernism subscribes to.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Sir,
Yeah.
I have one question. During your explanation, you have put two of the main topics that are very harmful to our society as far as postmodernism is concerned. That why do we buy something, as it is
Yes.
the question of consumerism, and the another
Yeah.
one is everything is copy of something. There is nothing like
Yes.
original.
Yes.
So as far as this our society that we know that we are living in postmodern era. So what are the threats and what actions that we need to take to reduce the threats of future?
That goes back again to the fact that you can be your only solution. You cannot guide people on how to deal with what. See, the moment you talk about postmodernism, from that moment you're starting to talk about localizing things and not universalizing things. Okay? So if a consumer is fine with what he or she is doing in terms of reading, in terms of art, in terms of films, in terms of culture, in terms of market, in terms of economics, in terms of commerce, that is fine with them, because there is no one to follow as such, or no one will follow you as well. Okay, as I told you, the concept of being popular, the concept of being famous, the concept of being intellectual, the concept of being a wonderful person is all virtual now. Are you getting my point? What is the problem right now? I gave you my example. When you listen to my voice, as you know, I cannot sing. I don't even think of singing. But if I have 200 people whom I know, what is reality shows? At the end, there is audience poll. What is audience poll? Audience poll is even if somebody is not deserving but has a larger group to follow, that person would win. Same is the case with me. If I start singing from tomorrow and I tell all of you and 100 others, please follow every day, increase my views and tell people that I'm the greatest singer in this world. After 5 to 6 years, what might happen or what is the danger of that is I might become great. And I know that I'm not great. Okay. So that is a threat. You cannot eradicate that threat. You have to live with it. It is like corona. You have to live with it now.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah.
Sir, as you said that when we go towards elite culture, then it is capitalist, and when we can go towards we can say against of it, that is popular. So there is
Yeah.
no monopoly in popular culture, and all can you said that all can put any videos and art on YouTube. So we can
Yeah.
say that sometimes what happens, what is popular in age or amongst people is not with even common sense at all. Just like this song, Char Char Bangdi Wadi Gadi. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is ridiculous at all. And even it is famous. So the
Yeah.
mass audience is creating them by praising,
Yeah.
or otherwise
Yeah.
the artists who are not with art at all are creating that
Yeah.
mass culture who are watching it. So my question is
Yeah.
that we are losing common sense in postmodern era.
Okay, fine. So, your question itself has an answer. There is nothing common in postmodern. Okay, so you cannot have a common mindset. You don't have a common thought process. I told you that in one of the slides there is this trivia. I wrote central features of postmodernism. So central cannot come in postmodernism. There will only be features. You cannot zero in on one. Your question is very relevant. Relevant as I told you about this fintech Puja, who came in Big Boss. She was epitome of nonsense. Okay,
Yes.
and to me she is a girl, but she has the highest followers, so she is popular. In postmodern, there is no distinction between elite and popular. Are you getting my point? It was in
Yes.
modernism.
Yes.
In postmodernism, what is popular becomes elite. As you told Geeta Rabari's song, Char Char Bangdi song, it is not good. It is a pain in our ears. Okay, blood sheds out of my ears when I listen to this song. But it is a hugely popular song. So she is a hugely popular artist. So she therefore becomes elite. Now what happens is that because you are told she is good, you start listening to it, and you also add to her being famous. So you become a part of this reality.
And it
So
also
so what
happens
happens
that
is
what is
I
ridiculous.
like to add something. What happens is what
Yes.
social media does is you become a crime partner of what is going around in this world. This is my take on social media. Even if you like it or not, sometimes you join in the crime of this nonsense that goes on in the postmodern times. Yeah. Yes, you can ask your question, or you were suggesting something.
I was just saying that what happens, we watch it because it is ridiculous at all. Sometimes it happens.
Yes, you watch it because you want to watch ridiculous, and ridiculous is the new in thing now. I'll give you this very example of the TikTok videos that you get every day on your phone.
Yes.
What is that? That is absolute crap. But you watch it, you laugh, you forward. You watch it, you laugh, you forward. You watch it, you laugh, you forward. When you open, you know it is nonsense. Yet you see it, yet you love it, yet you forward it. So aesthetics as a concept in postmodern is lost.
So we cannot have poetics of art right now.
Poetics of art at the local level, yes, not universally.
Yes.
Universal poetics, anything universal is of no use. And for that, I told you, you need to visit Google and go through this museum of Pompidou. It will answer most of your questions. Yeah.
So, sir, we can make a statement that postmodernism is a result of our loss of aesthetic sense, or say or say our freedom of choice, or say what we choose among lot many things.
See, freedom of choice is more now, and sometimes more creates a problem. If you are sitting on a dinner table and you are given 50 things to eat, you will not be able to eat anything. But if you are given 5 things to eat, you will eat everything. Even in that 5 there is freedom of choice. Even in that 50 there is freedom of choice. But out of 50, 45 is what you don't like, only 5 is what you like. So you end up eating only 5. So sometimes many options create problems, and that is what postmodernism does to me. Yeah.
If anyone has questions.
Sir, I have something to confirm. Like,
sure.
Say that by social media or people are driven to this information soaking world.
Yeah.
And so this postmodernism as a theory, is it open to this kind of criticism of gullibility actually, or not?
Postmodernism is a theory, if I am getting your question right.
Yes.
Is it worth questioning? That is what you are asking? Is there anything worth questioning in postmodernism? Is
yes,
your
sir.
question?
We have some charges against this kind of utterly nonsense videos and less productive content over internet.
Yeah. So,
which is actually people like, which includes students like me also, to upload something not worthy productive as well. But yes, is it open to this kind of criticism?
It is. See, in this world of media, you are living in this world of mass media. Okay. What happens is, the moment you put something on social platform, your question is answered. It is open for criticism. It is open for appreciation. Both. Now, what happens in the concept of postmodernism is, you get drawn to sometimes very unimportant things, let me put it that way, and sometimes unknowingly you give it a lot of importance, and all of a sudden there is this cloud of importance with regard to what you are looking at, in spite of the fact of yourself knowing that it is not that important. But by the time you lose charm in it, others would catch it. So, as I told you, there is nothing original. Is once you pass on, it is not yours, it is somebody else's. Now that person passes it to 100 more people. Now if you have lost touch to what you send, that does not mean it does not have effect on the people.
I'm sorry, sir, but your mic is muted. You are still not able to.
Can you now?
Yes.
So from where do I start? Did you listen to anything or?
Yes. From last 5 seconds and start.
Yeah. So the problem that you question the gullibility of postmodernism is that when you pass on, you might lose effect of it, but the others might pick up effect of it. So when you move from one place to another, you are less responsible, and therefore, as I told you, anything that is on internet online is knowledge. Anything that is not on internet is not knowledge. You are perhaps the last generation who are reading books. Others would not be reading books. Now, for example, if any book is not uploaded on internet, that means it is not knowledge. That is a very difficult question to answer. So what you showcase becomes knowledge. You do everything to show everything. You don't do it just for the sake of doing it. In postmodernism, there is always this idea of projection. Okay? For example, whatever you do in your life is why you do it. Is to show that you did it. What is this concept of status in WhatsApp? What is status? What do you understand by status, you tell me? Status is showing what you are doing. Now, showing is very postmodern. Okay? So, you are not doing sometimes in order to do, you are doing sometimes in order to show. So, are you getting my point? That is how postmodernist mindset works.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I think we don't have
Sure.
questions.
But it was difficult. I am glad there were so many questions. I doubted any question because postmodernism is quite a difficult thing. Anyway, thank you all and see you at the time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.